the live streaming yet. I double checked. It's working on Zoom, so everything should be okay. Yeah. Good morning, everybody. I'd like to welcome everyone to the Undip, Unirazak, and the V2V Global Partnership Summer Course here at the Universitas of Diponegoro, Semarang, in Central Java, Indonesia. This course is in joint partnership with the Universitas of Diponegoro, the University of Tim Abdul Razak, Malaysia, and the V2V Global Partnership. The theme of our discussion today will focus on voices from coastal communities securing small-scale fisheries with a vulnerability to viability approach. We are happy today to welcome people from academia, policy and practice, and students from over 20 countries around the globe joining us today, whether that be in person or online via Zoom. And before we begin, we're just going to have a short silent prayer for about 10-15 seconds, so if everyone can just please bow their heads and we'll have a quick prayer session. Thank you, everybody. And now we're going to ask everyone if they could please stand, and we're going to play the national anthem of Indonesia. Thank you, everybody. You may be seated. And before we begin today, we want to show everyone some traditional Semarang dancing to show the richness and diversity of the culture here in Semarang. However, before the dances begin, I will explain the historical and cultural importance of these dances. So, Semarang, as a multicultural city, has a unique performance that was born from the initiative and support of the people of Semarang, which is Gambang Semarang. Gambang Semarang was created from the acculturation of Chinese Javanese culture. Gambang Semarang is adopted from the Gambang Kromong art originating from Jakarta, but still has historical roots that cannot be separated from Semarang. Gambang Semarang was born and developed in the 1940s in the form of music, vocal art, comedy, and dance. This dance represents the life of the people of Semarang, who are harmonious, have an open character, and are easy to get along with. And with that, I would like to welcome Ama and Audrey from the Tari Gombong Semarang to perform the traditional Semarang dance.
Bernyanyi, jongkok berdiri, kaki melintang. Aduh, sungguh celaka waktu mereka tari berdendang. Bersukaria, gelak tertawa semua orang karena hati tertarik gagrik si tukang gendang. Empat penari membikin hati menjadi senang. Aduh, itulah dia malam gembira Gombong Semarang. Bersukaria, gelak tertawa semua orang karena hati tertarik gagrik si tukang gendang. Gagrik si tukang gendang.
Semarang jarene kula bukane saka tembung kutha Semarang. Adipatine kang kondang asmane kang katelah
Thank you, Alma and Audrey. That was an amazing performance that showed the richness and diversity of the Semarang culture. Now, before we begin our discussions today, I want to welcome our co-directors, Professor Prateep Nayak, the V2V project coordinator and a professor from the University of Waterloo, Canada, Professor Indah Saslawati, professor at the University of Diponegoro and a V2V country collaborator from Indonesia, as well as Professor Ghazi Nurul Islam, a professor from the University of Tim Abdul Razak and the V2V country coordinator from Malaysia. And we're just going to have these co-directors quickly discuss the importance and the purpose why we are here today. So with that, I'll pass the mic over to Professor Prateep.
Good morning, everyone. What a wonderful start. Anything that we start by linking to culture and our ways of life is always meaningful. And we have started that on a really good note here in Semarang, in Central Java. Our first summer course, as we call it, it's a collaboration between three institutions. The institutions are Undip here in Semarang, Uni Rajak University in Malaysia, and the University of Waterloo through the V2V global partnership, which the University of Waterloo hosts in Canada, in Waterloo itself. So this is a collaboration that, of course, you will hear more as we go, focuses on the ways of learning and doing things. We all participate in classroom teaching in the universities in our everyday life. And we know the value of being in a classroom as students, but also as instructors or as mentors. But at the same time, because we live in this world which is so complex and there is so much of uncertainties and there is so much to learn, there cannot be one way to engage in learning those things. There has to be multiple diverse ways to learn the knowledge and also find ways to doing things. And that is one of the key purposes why we came together to put together this collaborative field course, just so that our students and all the participants from the academia, from the practice, from the policy, and from real lives can come together to engage in diverse ways of learning. Of course, not all of us, but a few of us are going to go out in the field starting tomorrow to interact in the real world. But we intend to also increase that component from next year, because this field course is going to rotate between Indonesia and Malaysia. So this is our debut year, this is our first year, and next year it is going to be hosted by Professor Ghazi Islam Nurul Islam from University of Tun Razak University in Malaysia, and then it's going to come back the year after to Indonesia again. Before I conclude, with a warm welcome to all of you to this first field course in Indonesia, I always believe that we do the best type of learning if we are able to use all our senses. And I have been telling this in many parts of the world wherever I go. So we have been given as human beings, how many senses? How many senses we have? 5 or 6? So we have the smell, we can speak, we can see, we can hear, we can touch. Okay, that's 5. So the best learning takes place when we use all our 5 senses. So the purpose of bringing together a collaborative field school is to be able to encourage our young minds and the students to go beyond the classroom, so they can engage in practicing, how to use all the 5 senses that, has been given to human beings in the way we learn, okay? And you can think about this five senses when you were in the classroom, and tomorrow when we start to go into the field. Okay, the food that we eat matters. The language or the words we speak matters. What we see and how we observe those things that we see matters. How we smell things in the real world really matters. How we touch matters, and matters for our learning. And that is the purpose why we have brought together this field course, so that we can have a comprehensive and inclusive and diversity-oriented learning in the real world that is otherwise called place-based, experiential, and cross-cultural learning. So thank you very much for all of you to join the first field school. I will now pass it on to my colleague, Dr. Gaji.
Thank you very much, Professor Prateep, for those great opening remarks. That was very wonderful. Before we pass it on to Professor Ghazi, we're just going to pass it to Professor Hadiento, who is the director of the World Class University here at the University of Diponegoro, to say a quick few opening remarks.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Very good morning, everyone. Thank you for inviting us from Reputation Office to this ceremony for opening summer course. I heard from Budesi that this collaboration between Waterloo University and also from Unirasak Universities and with Faculty of Economic and Business is already more than 3 years, already almost 10 years, 10 years. I think that's very great news for us, especially for Diponegoro University. Ladies and gentlemen, it is very great pleasure to have you here in summer course conducting by Faculty of Economic and Business Diponegoro University, especially by the team of Prof. Indah in the topic of vulnerability to viability approach. And this summer course is very crucial, not only for the faculty, but also for Diponegoro University. Ladies and gentlemen, since 2016, the Diponegoro University always elevate the reputations of our academics. And the ones that can be the keyword for this academic reputation is the internationalization. The internationalizations can be done by not only by research productivities, but also by staff mobilities, both inbound and also outbound. And this summer course is very important, of course, to invite all the staff, not only student, but also maybe the instructor. I heard from the committee that the participants are already more than 50, and some students also available online from outside Indonesia. And very thanks to the committee that already makes this summer course happens. Ladies and gentlemen, World Class University that we are organizing is not only a summer course, we also have other programs. We have adjunct professors, we have also visiting professor, and we have also student mobility. And we are inviting all the students, both Diponegoro University or maybe a student from the partners, to come to Diponegoro University. Also maybe the student from the Faculty of Economic and Business, if they want to go abroad, please contact us from Reputation Office so we can support for the fundings. I think the topic that we have today is very important, vulnerability to viability, and I had lucky because I was a member of the examiner during one of PhD student has a final examinations, and Hapsari things, yeah, Hapsari. Hapsari is one of the students that have been invited for the examiner, and she has succeeded to finish the study within 4 years with more than 3 publications. And thanks again for all the speaker, Prof. Pratip, and also Prof. Gazi, and also Prof. Indah for making this summer course very crucial, very important. And thanks again, and success. Wish you have a fruitful discussion during 5 days of this summer course. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much. Glasses. Do we have gift? Thank you very much, Professor Hadianto. Before you leave, we have something for you. Yes. Yeah. We just have you come down to the front. Sorry. Thank you. Yeah, very short. And we move to the next. Yeah, we'll do guesses here. All right, thank you everyone very much. Now we'll move to Professor Gazi from the University of Uni Razak in Malaysia to say a few opening remarks as well. Podium.
Hello, Assalamu alaikum and very good morning. Selamat pagi. Thank you for inviting this great occasion for summer school for the first time in Indonesia. I am Gazi. I am working in the Tun Razak Graduate School at Uni Razak. I think this is the one of the pioneer university in the management in Malaysia. I am working there in the economics faculty as a social science faculty. So I've been teaching for like last 15 years in different university in Malaysia. But the purpose for this today, is about the V2V project that we are working for a couple of years in the past. So the V2V project is, the goal of the project is to create knowledge and disseminate the knowledge for a good citizen in the world. So we are teaching students, we are sharing our experience with the students, but this is a good opportunity to explore the solution to the problem that facing every day in the society. And the best way to collaborate with other university where there are a group of young people are looking for knowledge in terms of the practical problems they are facing in the day-to-day. So this is a good opportunity for the summer school that we are happening in Indonesia. Next year we will be conducting in the similar summer school in Malaysia, so that we can gain more and more knowledge in terms of like understanding and exploring the solution to the problems that are facing by the very poor community in the coastal areas. Right? So this is a good opportunity. This is the main goal for understanding the synergy between Malaysia and Indonesia. There are a lot of similarity in terms of culture, economics, and geographical context. So we'll have better understanding about how to deal with these problems by our younger generation's involvement in this great opportunity to work together. Thank you very much. We look forward to get more understanding from the next 5 days. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Ghazi, for those warm, welcoming remarks. Now we would like to welcome the host, Professor Inda, to come on up and say a few opening remarks, just to welcome everyone to the summer course here at the University of Diponegoro.
Thank you very much, Murai. So, very good morning, everybody here in offline. But I also welcome with very happiness and highly appreciation to the international student who join in online, through a Zoom meeting. So I highly appreciate it for Professor Pratap, the director of V2V Global Partnership, and Prof. Ghazi, and then also here my fast friend Preeti, wife of Prof. Pratap. We used to visit each other, and then particularly still in here is Dr. Desi. I like to invite Dr. Desi after this my welcoming address to speak something regarding with the world-class university program in Diponegoro, which is we can benefit it. Since now in offline here, many students, which is we have 5 group of book chapters for the student, which is apply for student going to international for WCU, but only the representative of each group. So one group, 2 person, and then we have 5, so about 9 person, because one is resigned for this application. Please kindly accept their funding. So this is I declare that I need your badly needed help. Dr. Desi, as in charge, accept their application in order they able to come to Unirasa for finalization. And Prof. Pratip already connect with Francis Taylor, a publisher. So we will combine together between from Undip, student part, and also from the lecturer part. We have also a chapter combined with Malaysia. So we can have a good book chapter for 3 countries. Professor Pratap is already published for the book chapter. So we refer as a standard. So I'm welcoming everybody for the international student as well. So please do participate to share a book chapter as well, chapter by chapter, and we will organize together with Professor Pratip and then we come up to the good productive, and we will sustain for our activities of V2V. And of course, those who are here offline is my student in natural resource and environmental economics, which is already applied V2V. And they have how many chapter, Murray? So 10 or 12, because each group one chapter. However, at this moment, we take top 5 because this is the first batch. Dr. Desi, please hear and consider our proposal. So on behalf of a committee, so could you raise hand or stand up for the committee? This is a V2V uniform. Stand up, everybody. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much for your hard working, and I will hope Professor Pratap will provide further action for further activities for V2V in Undip and Malaysia and other countries. Thank you so much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much, Professor Indah, for those opening remarks. Next, we would like to welcome Dr. Desi, who is the PIC of the summer course at the world-class university here at University of Diponegoro.
Yeah, thank you. Very good morning, everyone. Honorable Professor Pratik, Professor Gazi, Prof. Indah, Prof. Faridin also here, Prof. Munasik, and also Prof. Nugroho. And also Bu Ami also, yeah, coming from Undip. Thank you so much, and all the students that are coming here today. Every single time I invited in this event of Professor Indah, I always got surprised because she always very passionate on these world-class university programs, and also every single times there will be another innovations that generated by Prof. Indah and team. From Universitas Diponegoro, especially in world-class university team, we fully supported for all the programs that related to the internationalizations of Universitas Diponegoro. And of course, if it is has a lot of output, positive outputs, like sharing knowledge and then disseminations in a sort of way, book chapters, articles, and then all related to the output that can beneficial for the humanity, sustainability, and all this stuff. I think we fully supported for that, and I also already got notifications from Prof. Indah that some students already apply for the Student Go Internationals for finalizing the book chapters that you mentioned. We hope that those book chapters can be published, and also maybe if it is very good, if it is published in the reputable publisher, Scopus Index or Web of Science or other indexing company. I think it is good, and basically, if it is good for the internationalizations of Undip and also can spread the reputations of Undip, we basically will be support in all matters. We also thankful for Prof. Indah and team especially, and also Faculty of Economic and Business, and also V2V teams in general, for the enormous works that you have done for the internationalizations of Undip. And it is very helpful for the reputations, of course. And also, as you notice that Faculty of Economic and Business always within 500s of QS. So it is like a big achievement that we got so far, and we hope that it can be increasing in the near future by this type of collaborations. Yeah, I think that's all from me. Thank you so much, and I hope all of you enjoy the summer course and the field trips, yeah, when the week comes, yeah. Thank you so much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much, Dr. Desi, for those warm, welcoming words and remarks. Lastly, just to say a few things, we would like to welcome Fina Hasia, who is a representative of the Dean of the Faculty of Economics and Business, as well as a representative of the International Office in the Faculty of Economics and Business as well.
Okay, good morning, everyone, and good evening or afternoon, maybe, for everyone online. So, the Honorable Professor Pratip, Professor Gazi, Bu Dr. Desi from Reputation Office, and all V2V Global Partnership team, distinguished guests, and all participants of the summer course with the topic Voices from Coastal Communities, Securing Small-Scale Fisheries with Vulnerability to Viability V2V Approach. So I'm truly honored to be here, stand here on behalf of the Dean of the Faculty of Economics and Business Universitas Diponegoro, Professor Faisal, who unfortunately cannot join us today because he needs to be outside of town for other jobs. And he asked me to deliver his speech for welcoming you all in this event. So I will try to read the speech from the Professor Faisal. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to take this opportunity to express our heartfelt gratitude to the VCU team of Universitas Diponegoro and also the V2V Global Partnership of the University of Waterloo, Canada, and also from Uni Razak, Malaysia, for invaluable support in organizing the summer course. This program marks an important milestone in our ongoing partnership and demonstrated the strength of collaboration across borders, especially in the academic field. We at the Faculty of Economics and Business Universitas Diponegoro deeply appreciate this fruitful relationship with the University of Waterloo and also University Tun Abdul Razak Malaysia, and also thanks to Professor Indah and also her teams. And we sincerely hope that our collaboration will continue to flourish in the future, fostering more joint projects, knowledge exchange, and learning opportunities for students and faculty. And lastly, I would like to extend my best wishes for the success of this summer course. I am confident that it will run smoothly until its completion from 3 until 8 October 2024, and it will help and also providing all participants with an enriching experience, valuable insights, and a deeper understanding of the important topics we will be exploring together. So thank you very much for your attention, and I wish you all the best throughout this program. So thank you very much. Good morning and enjoy the program.
Thank you very much, Afina, for those warm, welcoming remarks on behalf of yourself and the Dean of the Faculty of Economics and Business. So now, after those warm, welcoming remarks, we're going to move into the main chunk of our discussion today. So our panelists are going to come up and they're going to have, each of them are going to represent and speak about the topic that they will be presenting today. So first, we would like to welcome Professor Pratip Nayak, the project coordinator for the V2V Global Partnership, to touch on his topic. That will be... Photo? Sure. Yes, before we can take a quick photo. Yeah. No problem. All right, thank you, everyone. So now, like I said previously, we're going to head into our panel discussion, and we'll begin with Professor Prateep Nayak from the University of Waterloo, Canada, and the V2V Global Partnership Project Coordinator, who will be touching on the vulnerability to viability and approach to understanding social ecological systems.
Can we have the slides on the screen? So very good morning to all of you once again. Again, that was a great start, to listen to so many people about, their perspectives or their views on the field school itself. It's very encouraging, and we'll keep that moving into the next, hours and the next days as well. So I have been given the responsibility to talk about. I'm just going to see how this works, Okay. So where do I point it? Okay. Where do I point it? Point it there, eh? Okay. I have to know the secret, before otherwise it doesn't work, Technology is technology. Okay. So I have been given the responsibility in the next 15 minutes to talk a little bit about the B2B approach that, you must have in the last 45 minutes or an hour, you must have heard the term V2V, vulnerability to viability global partnership, many times from different speakers before me. We need to know what it is. My responsibility is to tell you in short what is the V2V approach. And therefore I have titled my talk as vulnerability to viability, or the V2V approach, to understand the various kinds of changes that we are witnessing. Many of you are researching, you must have seen changes in your communities, you may have seen changes taking place in the specific context of your work. And we apply the vulnerability to viability approach to not only understand the change in those specific contexts, especially small-scale fisheries, communities, but also try and find out ways to respond to those changes in diverse ways. So moving forward then, if we look at the terms vulnerability, viability, transition, all of these things, you can make many senses out of it, different ways to understand vulnerability and viability. But in short and in very simple terms, when we talk about vulnerability, it projects some kind of situation for human beings or for our communities that are on the harm's way. You are vulnerable when you are almost close to being harmed or being attacked or being suppressed by certain external or internal forces. So vulnerability is being on the harm's way, and you can situate that in the specific context of your work itself. Similarly, viability could mean not being on the harm's way. Viability could mean that you have the capacity, you have the resources, and you have the strength to respond to the vulnerabilities when vulnerabilities are encountered by you, or you are faced with the vulnerabilities itself. So this is the ultimate capacity, the response mechanism, and other kinds of resources you need to respond to vulnerabilities. But also transition could mean that you are doing this interaction with vulnerability and viability in a process-oriented way. It's not like you are faced with vulnerability and you have responded and you have solved your vulnerabilities to the final extent. It is a process. You take the challenge of being vulnerable, you keep responding to it. Sometimes you have success, sometimes you have no success, but in a process you try to respond continuously to the different kind of vulnerabilities that you face. So it becomes a process. When we focus on transition, we focus on this process orientation of responding to vulnerabilities and viability challenges itself. Okay, and I'll talk more about as we go. So what I just told you about vulnerability, viability, and transition then makes vulnerability and viability multidimensional. It doesn't have one face, it has multiple faces. It has multiple dimensions, multiple domains in which vulnerability and viability exist. And it is more so in fishing communities in different parts of the world. And vulnerability and viability is again something that is not to be understood in one sense or the other. In interdisciplinary terms, we understand vulnerability and viability as it is situated in multiple domains. It can be economically driven, it could be politically driven, it could be culturally driven, it could be human relation oriented, it could be materially driven. So there are multiple angles through which vulnerability and viability is influenced. So it is not only multidimensional, it is also something that rests in these multiple domains. And I have written some of that there. The ecological, environmental, cultural, social, economic, technological, and other kinds of domains. Okay, that's my initial pitch about vulnerability and viability. If we go into some of the books, literature that you typically study, and I see a livelihoods group there, a gender group there, and there are conservation groups there. when you deal with these topics or themes, this is something that we did some work, a couple of years back. On one side, the circles represent various ways in which communities become vulnerable. Okay, either they lose their resources, land grabbing or sea grabbing. They lose their resources, lose access to those resources. Therefore, they become vulnerable. Imagine of a fishing community that do not have access to the fishing grounds to catch fish. What do they become? They become vulnerable. So these 6 circles on my left represent ways in which communities or people or households become vulnerable. So they can become vulnerable by losing their livelihoods that one group here is working on, or not being able to be part of the conservation initiatives in their specific area. So this is the way they become vulnerable. But at the same time, if you read another set of book, another set of literature, you will find that there are many, many ways in which communities respond to those vulnerabilities in order to stay viable. Okay, so those are the ways. How do they do it? They build good institutions, they negotiate with government, they manage their resources. Okay, they collaborate with each other. There are different ways to do this in the community level. So if you take these 6 circles and those 6 circles on my left and right, then you will understand how vulnerabilities not only come to stay, but also there are ways in which communities respond to those vulnerabilities, and therefore vulnerability and viability are in a transition process, always interacting with each other. Trying to resolve vulnerabilities, but also trying to strengthen viabilities in those communities. Okay, so this is the way we frame. But also some of the work that our team has done, especially comes from the work of one of my graduate students who is studying the species in not far from here, but in the Bay of Bengal coast of India. My student Natasha, so she came up with this word clouds to see what does vulnerability mean. And I'm not going to read all of that. You can read for yourself. So all the words written in that fish on my left represents different types of vulnerability. Okay. At the same time, on my right there, viability is represented by all the words that you see. But you will come to know very soon that vulnerability and viability are always treated as separate from each other. Okay, or predominantly they're treated as separate from each other. Like vulnerability happens, viability is required, but seldom they are talked about interlinked concepts. Okay, and I will explain that in a bit. In our approach to from vulnerability to viability, global partnership, we try to see how vulnerability can lead to viability, but also we have not closed our eyes to the fact that very viable communities or very sustainable communities can also become vulnerable if proper care is not taken. Okay, so you need to work on moving from vulnerability to viability, but also you need to be careful about not moving back from viability to vulnerability. That's the approach. So it's not just one way from here to there, but it is a cyclical process where you need to be careful that yes, we have moved towards being more sustainable as a community, but at the same time, how not to lose that status of being sustainable and revert back to being vulnerable again. So you need to be careful. So that's our core approach of vulnerability to viability. It's not just one V to the other, but it's also from viability to vulnerability and being careful. Okay, so we'll have time for discussion. You can ask me questions and I will clarify. But I know my time is almost off, but I'll just move towards finishing this up. Okay, so we all know through our work that vulnerabilities are increasing in the fishing communities that we work. Okay, there are multiple vulnerabilities, livelihood loss. People are losing their rights and their entitlements. People are being excluded from decision-making process, and there are multiple ways in which vulnerabilities are increasing in the fisheries sector itself. Just again, very quickly, when we in the V2V Global Partnership talk about vulnerability and viability, we use three interrelated concepts to understand vulnerability, viability. And again, very quickly, because my time is running out, the first concept we use is capitals or resources. In the livelihoods group that I see here, they would know better because they must have studied the literature in doing the work on livelihood. So these are resources, which are human resources, economic resources, technological resources, physical resources, natural resources. These resources or capitals are essential to deal with vulnerability. The moment you have less access to these resources, you are more and more vulnerable. Okay, so that's one point. The second one is resilience. Resilience is the capacity to respond, the capacity to stay afloat when you are swamped with problems or levels of vulnerability. So in our understanding, we always conceptualize vulnerability and viability by the level of resilience in the community or in the household itself. So more resilience is less vulnerable and vice versa. Okay. And then the third concept we use is well-being. It's going to come up. Okay, so well-being, which is a state of being. If you ask me what is my state, well-being today, I will reflect on myself to say, what is my state? How do I feel? My mental state, my physical state, my other kinds of states that makes me a human being. Okay, and you can extrapolate that to the community itself. So, well-being is a very nice concept which gives us an understanding of vulnerability and viability in the material sense, like how much income households have. Less income is more vulnerable, or high income is more vulnerable. We don't, it might change. So material, realities of communities is represented through how we understand vulnerability and viability in the sense of well-being. But at the same time, only material existence is not enough. If I have a lot of wealth, am I going to be well? I'm going to be viable completely. Okay, we can look at a lot of wealthy people around us and ask the question, are they viable or are they finally sustainable? So in the literature that we study, we understand that material aspect of well-being or material aspect of vulnerability and viability is just one aspect. We also focus on the subjective dimension and the relational dimension. How well or how viable or how vulnerable I am may relate to how vulnerable, how viable, or how sustainable my neighbor is or my next person is. So we are relational beings. We relate to each other, not only how we see our existence, but also see our levels of viability and vulnerability. So if I do not have good relationship, with my neighbors or the next person in the community, there is every chance that I may be more vulnerable than viable. So relational aspect. And then the subjective aspect is, how do I feel about myself? You may look at me, today, this morning and say, oh, this is a happy person and this person is more viable because I'm smiling and I'm standing, talking, moving, and I'm exposing all the characteristics that makes you feel that I am, feeling well. But I, as an individual, only know how I feel inside. So that's the subjective dimension. If you ask me, are you vulnerable? How are you vulnerable or not? Then I will use my subjective, opinion to express how vulnerable or viable I am or not. Okay. So capitals or resources, resilience, and well-being defines the level of vulnerability and viability and then it is the circle, the feedback, loop that I showed you. I think I'm going to come to an end. And of course, we'll give you some material where you will see that vulnerability and viability exists in 5 domains in our work, but there could be more domains. These are environmental domain, economic development domain, emerging categories domain, and governance and policy domain, and the practice and social kind of domain. So, and the interconnections between all of those. Okay, just to bring to an end, all of these vulnerability and viabilities are contextualized within the change that is taking place. Okay, and when we say change, this change is influenced by multiple drivers. Okay, drivers means the influences, and these drivers are something that can cause a change. Okay, so we need to understand vulnerability and viability and the interaction between those two, or the movement between those two, by understanding the kinds of change that is taking place. And I conclude my talk by saying that the change we are seeing in this current world is rapid, it's something that comes without any warrant or without any signals, and makes irreversible movements or shifts in the social ecological system or in the human society as well as the ecosystem. So these are big changes, surprise oriented changes that is taking place, and we need to understand vulnerability and viability through those changes, because we don't understand those changes as well. I'll stop there. I may have more slides, but I will just stop there and say a big thank you and sorry for the extra time that I took.
No worries. Thank you very much, Professor Prateep, for that great presentation on vulnerability to viability and approach to understanding social ecological systems. It was very in-depth and very helpful for, I'm sure, a lot of people here and online. So thank you very much. Next, we would like to welcome Professor Ghazinu Islam, who is a V2V coordinator from Malaysia and a professor at the Uni Razak University Institution in Malaysia as well. And he will be touching on the social and political dimensions of vulnerabilities in small-scale fisheries, focusing on whether marine protected areas benefit the most vulnerable fishers within these marine protected areas in Malaysia. So with that, Professor, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mori, for your kind invitation for the presentation. I will be very quick because my previous speaker, Prof. Prateep, has already discussed very details in the definition of the V2V, which is vulnerability to viability. I don't like to touch on this. I have only 3 slides, and these 3 slides I try to understand about what is the vulnerability the people who are living in the coastal areas are facing today, and whether there is any viable transition towards the betterment of their life in the future. So, to be very quick, this is the marine protected areas, which is in the islands, and in Malaysia there are 42 islands, and these offshore islands are very important in terms of biological and conservation of the resources. So they are very, these ecological conditions are very rich in Malaysia and also Indonesia too, because of the coral reef ecosystem, the rich coral reef ecosystem, and this ecosystem has been protected quite long time, for the last 40-50 years. But still today, the government and the industry are facing a lot of challenges how to conserve the resources for the benefit of the local community. So the V2V is like a good program to understand about the drivers of vulnerability, what are the problems in terms of economics, social, and also political they are facing every day. So these are the main problems facing in this in the community in 42 islands in Malaysia, and there are many islands in Indonesia as well. We have got the similar experiences in terms of the challenges they face. So they are challenging most of the environmental problems, like the pollution in the sea, water, and seawater pollution because of too much of use of resources. And who are using the resources? The people. Who are the people? Fishermen, the tourism workers. So these, it says that people are polluting their environment because of too much of use, over capacity of the technology. There are a lot of complaints about the people, but people are well off. If you go and ask how they are very happy with these conditions, local conditions. But the problems coming from the governance, who are making rules to use the resources, right? So the vulnerability coming from the three different very major drivers is social, economic drivers. This is a governance drivers, this political drivers, and one of the important drivers is the ecology and climate change, which is very serious in the recent times. A lot of climate change issues in everywhere, and specifically in the community who are the residents of the islands. They are facing very serious problem due to flooding and cyclones and other hazards, climatic hazards. So this Malaysia is very rich in terms of marine water, like 3,600 square kilometers of the coral reef habitat. Right? So and there is a massive development in the last 20 to 30 years in Malaysia in terms of tourism development. And when the tourism has massive development, they have built infrastructure, a lot of development activities going on, investments is going on. So the impact of this development is going to benefit and going to cost. So we need to understand what is the cost for the development programs to benefit the community, and what are the benefits they are getting. Is it viable, or is it still vulnerable? But we try to understand from our community. Who are the community? The community is the local people, the industry people who are investing for the more economic outcome, and the government for the policy, for the future economic development, economic growth. So you see that the tourism development has contributed a lot for the benefit of the local economy. But when you look at the environmental sustainability, no, because the resources are polluting very fast. And if you look at the water is polluted. People cannot use the water like they used previously. So these are the more and more challenges facing by the local community who are involved in fisheries for generation to generation. And they cannot just leave these fishing activities to move to the other activities like tourism activities. They are not used to it. They don't know how to do this diving or other activities. So need to learn from the generation, right? So this generation, they are inbuilt the capacity, the skills they got from their parents cannot leave for the next generation. So that is happening in the society. So the drivers from the social and economic is very important to me compared to the ecological drivers and the government drivers. That can be changed, but the way they are living, the local community, the society, they are living the skills and strategies. They cannot suddenly change it to move to other activities. So this is now we are trying to understand what are the viable opportunity for the people so that they can move to other alternatives for their living. But we have to accept it. We cannot just against all the challenges. We need to accept. Then the viability is coming. How there is some viable options for the people to move. So what is the most viable options? We see here, one of the viable options may be the local women. They are not working outside, now they are working outside to survive, right? So these are the viable opportunities we can see very clearly from the islands. So some women, they are doing some other alternative activities, not fisheries, but some other activities. They are doing some business, a small business, they are going to the main city for doing some other alternatives. So these are the viable opportunities they got from this crisis. of fisheries. So, and then sorry. Okay. So the findings from the last 10, 15 years clearly show that the socio-demographic patterns, the social patterns has been changing. Very slow, but very concretely can visible that they are changing their demographic, like age of the fisheries. The older fisheries are going to be completely none in the fishing society. You don't find any young fishers fishing full time in the islands. They're changing their demographic characteristics, right? So these are the changes we can see. So how to deal with this crisis about the young people? We tell the young people, please do fishing, but they don't like to fish. They find other things to do. So this is a big crisis coming. So these are the crises, how to deal with the crisis to be able to find some viable opportunity for the community who have been engaged and who will be doing these fisheries for sustainability in the future. This is the great challenge for all the parties like government, industry, and the academics and the young generations. What is our role for them to have a sustainable society in the future? So this is how we are here, and this is how we are collaborating different community, how to face the challenges, what are the solutions, better solutions for them to survive, sustainable way. So, and this is the last slide. What is the way forward from now? We see a lot of challenges coming. What is the way to look at in the future? We can see that whether there is any community-based initiatives coming from the local community, which is not very clear now. Government has different rules to find a solution, maybe some corrections to be made or some modifications of the rules and regulations. We need to see about the role of the local community, local NGOs, local clubs and societies, how they mobilize the local people to act according to the drivers of crisis. And maybe we can think about the policy to focus that the viable opportunity for the local people if the policy can understand about the problems and some of the suggestions coming from the academics and researchers and young researchers, young students, maybe can give me some recommendations for the future solution to the problem, right? So these are the ways to look at in the future to find out some of the recommendations which is visible now, which might be visible in the near future. What are the possible ways for the people to survive? So that's the end of my talk, and I like to share. If you ask any questions after this, I will be very happy to respond to your questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Ghazi, for that great topic and talk on the social political dimensions of vulnerabilities in the artisanal fishers and marine protected areas in Malaysia. I think it was very in-depth and again provided lots of knowledge to everyone here and online. So thank you very much. Next, we're going to move into our last panelist discussion here with Professor Indah, who will be talking about the blue economy, blue growth, and blue justice. And Professor Indah is the V2V country coordinator for Indonesia, as well as a professor here at the University of Diponegoro.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Murray. How many minutes you gave me the time? 15. Oh, too much, yeah. So, because I need to consider our student in Ghana early morning, and then perhaps in Canada it's quite late night. So I may not take too much time. So my slide regarding with the blue economy, blue growth, and blue justice. Then the slide will be shared for all of you. And I just want to welcoming the international student, which is in a very, very long distance. If possible, then could you on cam so we can see, interact each other. Of course, I understood that after this we have question and answer, but to welcome everyone here. Yeah, Laura, I can see your face. It's a very late night in Waterloo, right? Professor Niku, you may say something. So after this, bisa dibuka unmute, Mas, ya. Professor Niku, and then from many Navia, and the others in the corner. Pratip? Yeah? From Canada? Yeah. Hello, Niku, Professor Niku. You may say something to us here.
Terima kasih, Professor Inda, and it is great to see you, all of you, across the world. And thank you, Pradeep Naik and V2V colleagues. And it is, I'm just feeling as if we are all in Chilka, and just, the discussions we had in Chilka and the extensions to Indonesia, and maybe, to next year we'll go to Malaysia. I worked in Malaysia, so I understand the 42 islands and the Penang and the food and the vulnerabilities, culture. Yeah, there's so many things that are happening in my thinking. But I believe vulnerability to viability to resilient futures is possible.
Okay, thank you so much. And where is Shiva, your student, which is very good in photography? Shiva, say something if you are in. Okay, we're waiting for Siwa and perhaps the others. Laura, could you say something? Message from Waterloo? Yeah. Your voice? Mute? You are mute. Okay, never mind. After this, we have question and answer, and we will looking forward to hear your voice. Alexandra, Alex.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Hi. Yeah. So thank you.
Yeah, I'm joining from Ghana.
Okay, it's early morning there. Yeah.
It's about 2 a.m.
Okay, so thank you for your commitment and participation. So
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, thank you so much. Nafia, say something, Nafia.
Hello everyone, can you hear me? My voice is down, but thank you. It's a great session. See like many of the familiar faces. So thank you so much.
Okay, is Ruyel still there? Okay, Annie, Catherine? Yeah. So early morning as well in your country.
I'm speaking from Waterloo.
Okay. Thank you. Mama Jang Tore?
Good morning. I'm glad to be here. I am also in Ghana, University of Cape Coast.
Okay, so I cannot greeting for all of you, but we highly appreciate for your participation. So we keep learning for V2V, and of course we can get in touch each other So I do hope you are all of my student from V2V student and also V2V student in here in Diponegoro University. So we start and always continue to have a commitment for pursuing good productive work, research, and also exchange student. So we are welcoming all of you to Indonesia offline. But at this moment, I'm very sorry because limited time and also limited budget from V2V, Professor Pratap here. So maybe we can have another occasion for V2V in some other else in a short, perhaps, I'm not sure. Prof. Pratap will have a program that's very interesting for field school and a summer course. So this is my slide, but I think we can send the slide, sharing the slide. And next, Mas, browsing aja terus ya. Next, ya, blue economy, and then you can read over later. Next, I want to show you next until the graph figure. Gambar, Mas. Next. Yes, rethinking blue economy and so on, and come up to the one graph again. Yes, this is blue economy, blue growth, and blue justice. I taught my student in here, including Murai also sitting for my class, and we create the recognition survey with the sneezing graph, yeah. Murai able to touch this session, and together with my student, this is a recognition survey for Tembak Bulusan Demak. Yeah, the pronunciation Murai. You come over Murai here? No, here. Yeah. So this is Tembak Bulusan in Demak, made by Murai with the sneezing map software. And I'm happy that all of my students here now able to create this graph, this map figure with the scaling. So showing the blue activities, blue economic, and then blue growth. Next. Yeah, next. That's the blue growth with the red colors and so on. So participation between Murai and a group, working group here in Diponegoro is quite marvelous to me. Yeah, and let's come to Indonesia and then follow Murai's step. And we will welcome with our very, very welcome. Thank you so much. Yeah. Next, Mas. Yes. Next. Yeah. Next. That the emission carbon also we also learn from Tembak Bulusan Demak, and we identify the emission carbon. Yeah. So this is a very quick graph map, the identification of Tembak Bulusan from blue economy, blue activities to blue growth, and as a consequence, whenever blue growth happen, then must be there is injustice. We call externalities positive as well as externalities negative, and in this case. One of group student estimating the carbon emission. So I think I can wrap up my time, and please forward to the question and answer. Thank you so much for joining us here. So very welcome to Indonesia in next occasion. Thank you. Murai, go ahead.
Thank you very much, Professor Inda, for that good explanation of blue economy, blue growth, and blue justice, and for showing my maps. Thank you. So now we'd like to move into our question and answer period. So we will feel free, if anyone in the room has any questions, feel free just to raise your hand, and I can sort of moderate this process as well. If anyone has any questions online, feel free to ask your questions as well, and we can, you can either put them in the chat, or if you want to say them through online via voice, you can do that as well. Maybe if you want in the chat, you can either react or do something so we know you have a question, or you can just say in the chat that you have a question and we'll be able to call on you for that question. So, does anyone have any questions to start off this session? If not, it's okay. I have a few questions as well. So I can, yeah. Question? Yeah. Question for Angel. Can we get a microphone, maybe?
Okay, thank you. First of all, my name is Angel and I'm from Gender Group. I want to ask Professor Pratip, you mentioned earlier about the transitions, whether from vulnerability to viability or vice versa, is influenced by various aspects or multidimensionals. What about conditions beyond their control or human control? For example, whether nature, as we know, that nature has its own unpredictable ways, and one of the biggest problems for fishermen, especially small scale fisheries, is the weather. How do they maintain their viability when they cannot do their job, which is fishing, while it's beyond human control? Thank you.
Thank you. That's a really great question. Very, very nice question. When we talk about vulnerability to viability movements or transitions, we don't talk about those, vulnerability or viability as absolute, outcomes. So if you ask me how I see vulnerability and viability, I don't imagine being in a situation where you have absolute viability that you have achieved, or a community that has achieved. So that's why I said we always see vulnerability and viability transitions as a process. So, and it becomes really meaningful when you see this in the context of his social ecological system or human environment system. When you look at a system, systems have many parts. So for example, if you look at a social ecological system on the society side, you have institutions, you have human relations, you have households, you have social organizations, policies, and many other things. On the ecological side, you will find that there are many elements or components like the food wave, food chain, the hydrological cycles, and many ecosystem characteristics that make up for the ecosystem. So if you place vulnerability and viability in that context, can you say that the entire system becomes viable or, at one point in time? What we have found in our studies is that it is not possible to look at absolute viability or vulnerability in one of those systems. But at the same time, what we have found out that various of these elements in the social dimensions or the ecological dimensions might become more vulnerable or less vulnerable, or might become more viable or no. I'll give you an example. In the Bay of Bengal area that I work, we found that the livelihood systems have failed to a great extent. That means the fishing communities are very vulnerable as far as livelihood system is concerned. Okay, so they have less income, less fish, so their livelihoods have become vulnerable. But at the same time, they have a very viable institutional or governance system because their fish, institutions, fisheries institutions in the village are very strong still. Okay, so you have a viable institution, but at the same time a vulnerable livelihood system. Okay, so you cannot say that particular village is completely viable or vulnerable. So that is how we understand. Okay, does that answer your question? Okay, thank you.
Great question. Anybody else in the audience have a question? Yep. Can we get past the microphone? Thank you.
Thank you, Murai, for the time, and also thank you for Prof. Indah, Prof. Pratik, and Prof. Ghazi for the presentation. I'm so interested with the statement from Prof. Pratik according to the importance of access to natural resources, social capital, and financial capital. And I also interested with the statement from Prof. Ghazi according to the women empowerment. And it is relevant with our research in small-scale fishermen in Juana Harbor, which one of the problem is women are being marginalized. And yeah, the question is, how do you see these things, and what is the solution for these things? Because when we are researching in Juana, it is the most important things, and it is the biggest problem there. And thank you.
Thank you so much for the question. It's a great question, and we discussed about this question yesterday. But nice to give you feedback yesterday, and also I'm going to give you some examples to how the women empowerment is now a critical issue in the global and as well as the regional and local context. You know, the women empowerment is about the social aspect of the social drivers, or socio-economic drivers, if you look at it. So in the society, like different society has different social arrangements. So the empowerment is in terms of how women can play their role in the economy, in the society. So and it is very clear understanding about the women are behind, right? Women are behind in terms of the economic activities, in terms of society's representations, they are behind. So, and when we look at this problem, how to improve the situations in the society. So the first thing is to our mind about the economic independence, whether women are working outside or at their home and earning some economic benefits for livelihood of the family, right? So this is the economic empowerment. But we are looking at not only economic empowerment, also social empowerment, whether they represent in the community to decide some important decisions or important decision for managing for community or managing the society, so that they are represented in the society in terms of better empowerment or the better the active role in the society like the men. Is it your question about the empowerment or the measurement of empowerment?
The empowerment for the women.
So there are two empowerment, economic and social. And most of the scientists, they try to look at whether economically are self-sufficient or independently they can actively involved in the economic activities or in the society. So we measurement in terms of economic and social empowerment for the women.
I'll just try to address the other part of your question. There was not a question, but you wanted to know more about the capitals approach. But I just want to start where Gaji left, is that there is also empowerment in terms of the political empowerment and societal empowerment, because, you know, real empowerment in a gender sense would mean that there is power in each of these domains of our life, okay? And women tend to be marginalized in all of these domains. So empowerment would mean social, ecological, political, economic power moving more into the hands of women who anyways, contribute and engage in multiple of these domains, without being recognized even. So absolutely, we need all of these domains for the empowerment. Coming to the capitals question, these are all elements, so you need resources, different kinds of resources to sustain us who we are, okay? You need physical resources, which could be your natural resource, which could be your income, or, you also need resources or capital such as human resources, okay? Which is more intangible and, non-measurable in many ways. So all of these resources that I talked about also are linked to the notion of well-being and resilience. Okay, how you become resilient is something that also depends on what resources you have. But much more than just having the resources, what is most important in the communities that we work is access to these resources. Okay, so you will see in the context of MPAs or in the context of fisheries in general, that there may be abundance of fish stock in the waters by which the communities live. But if they don't have access to those fish, it is of no use. Okay, if they don't have entitlements, access and rights to those resources, then it is of no use. Okay, so therefore access to those resources is also very, very important. So access to these capitals are most important than just having the resources by yourself. Okay, so and then those resources or capitals will contribute to the level of resilience, but also contribute to well-being. And in well-being, I told you there is material, there is subjective, and there is relational. And these resources have the ability to contribute to each of these three different aspects of well-being. Okay, so the physical capitals will contribute to the material aspect of well-being. The social capital, for example, can contribute to the relational aspects of well-being. And the subjective dimension can come from any one of those. Okay, so that is the holistic understanding of capitals in the context of not only vulnerability and viability, but also in the context of its relation with resilience and capitals. Okay, does that clarify your question?
Yeah,
Okay.
Thank you, Prof. Pratik. But I have another question for Prof. Ghazi. You are mentioning about the solution that already implemented in Malaysia to make the role of women be optimized. I forget what is the solution, but can you explain it again? How the role of the woman be optimized in Malaysia? Maybe it can be implemented in Indonesia.
Yeah, thank you very much for this question about the viable transition or viable opportunity. Right? Yes, we have some experience and some observation in the islands that during the COVID, especially during the COVID, women started some activities, additional income earning activities through opening some small business, trading business activities related to tourism, like souvenir shop, like opening food stalls, right? Tea stalls, food stalls, like the small business, and some laundry shop, some activities. So it is, and these activities is like cannot be separated from other resources, like Professor Pratik mentioned about the social aspect, social capital. Social capital is also play a very significant role during the time. Like when women started their work, the other male members are not initially approved or allow them to work, right? But in the process of this and the crisis, dealing with the crisis, the women were able to work outside their home, and the male members and other members in the society, they also extend their hands and support. Yes, you should do some more like this. So these are the ways for the viable opportunity. You can see clearly that when people face crisis, so there is also viable opportunity they can like adapt from the situation. This is the one of the situation we can clearly observe during the crisis. Maybe a similar situation happening in Indonesia, and also another aspect is about the financial capital. This is one of the important problems in both in Malaysian and Indonesian, the small scale fisheries. When they need the capital for investment for some activities like opening a stall, where the financial like assets come, when they need some support from the local banks or some other institutions, even the money lenders who are living in the society, friends and like relatives. So they also support for their women activities to give some non non-profitable like this support, like giving loans without any interest rate, right, from the friends, from the family members, relatives. This also helped a lot for their like viable opportunity for the crisis. So these are the opportunities, but there are a lot of other opportunities maybe we did not look at very closely. So this is our role, researchers and academics and local people. They can see what is the possible options for them to come out to do some activities to support their family. And at the same time, also women are like involved in economic activities to build up their empowerment in the society.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Professor Ghazi and Professor Prateep, for those great, insightful answers. We have a couple of questions that have come in from online. We'll go first to Dr. Nico's question. It's actually towards Professor Inda, and he's just asking, how can we address the questions of power and power imbalances when we're looking at the production of knowledge and questions within fisheries when we're talking about vulnerability to viability?
Me? Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Professor Niku. That's a very tough question. So I saw in your chat that the question is quite tough for me to answer, but let me answer. Please, you may add additional enrichment and also your insight. The production of knowledge regarding with here in the context of V2V in Indonesia. So, as here, as my capacity as a lecturer as well as a researcher, then I encourage for my student and also my colleagues here, especially for early career lecturer as well as a student. So to be productive, whether there is a funding or no funding, whether there is a support from say the power of in say in a institution or not. So I used to encourage them keep going, and we have to do a productive thing. Research and also doing something positive. And I used to also bring them, especially for a student, to the say beach in a mountain and wherever places, which is we can see the livelihood of a fisher, a farmer, and others. And then the garbage of plastic in a coast area and so on. So we just give the fact from reality, and then we can, I also remind them. So we have to assess our own capacity as well as the surrounding capacity, including the availability and cooperation of power, whether there is a powerless to powerful and so on. So we have to do something good for us, for ourselves, for for our community as well as to our people. So no boundary, whether this is in Indonesia, Malaysia, and Canada, but we have to commit that we have to commit with changes from vulnerability to viable. That is my heart, written V2V in all every second of our breath. So only that thing that I have a power to do that. So if there is a power support by the government and the others, then will be additional incentive, a great incentive. So that's my answer to Professor Niku. You may have provide me a great whatever grade. So thank you very much. So I do expect for your response. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Indah, for that great response to the in-depth question by Dr. Niku there. Yes, if he has any response, feel free. No? He's good? Okay, perfect. We also have a question online from Laura from UW, University of Waterloo, Canada. And this is for the whole panel. However, if maybe just one of you could answer for the sake of time, that would be beneficial. And her question is, how can local voices and traditional knowledge be better integrated into policymaking to ensure sustainable fisheries management?
Let me answer first. Yeah, Laura, thank you, Laura. So it's nice to see you in person last 2 weeks ago. And I think the local knowledge, local voice, local traditional and so on. So based on the community-based fact, so this is the grassroots power. The grassroots power is quite important because this is the real voice from our people. Then we are as academician and researcher, we have to help them make it the voice become a focal, and then in order to listen by the government or top power, because sometimes the top power, top management may not able or have a chance to see that the voice are from the local. So we are as the middleman or as a moderator to make this sound of a grassroots focal in order the top management or top power will hear and listen what are required by our people. That is, I think, that's my approach. So perhaps Prof. Pratip and Prof. Ghazi also can share their opinion.
Maybe just quick thoughts on the topic.
Hello, yes, very quick. To respond to the question is very tough because this is a process, and the local conditions depends how long the process will be happening. Like from the local voice to the top governance to look at the policy making and people. So this is a very long way. To understand about these local voices, to reach the policy making and to formulate that changing the policy is a long process, and it is a longer even in terms of sustainability. Sustainability depends on 3 different pillars, right? Economic, social, and governance. So it is also very hard to reach all these different dimensions for sustainability. This is a longer way to go, and depends on local conditions and circumstances.
Just a quick addition. Thanks, Laura, for that question. Just a quick addition to the answers given by Indah and Gaji. I think there is a real need for making the local voices and the knowledge systems they hold visible. Despite all the work, there is a lot of invisibility, non-recognition of the voices and the knowledge. So there is a need for more work on making it visible so that it can make its way more and more in depth into the policy domain itself. The other related answer I have is not an answer but response is that rather than talking about voices and knowledge being part of the policy, we need to focus more on the implementation of the policy. I would say in the last few decades of work, there is already a lot of inclusion of knowledge, local knowledge and voices into the policy system. But then who cares, is the approach. Therefore, we need to really focus on the implementation side to see what is happening to those voices that have already been included, and what is happening to the co-produced, co-created knowledge that we always talk about, citizen science and scientific and local knowledge, collaborations and all of that. So what is happening in most of the places where that integration has already happened to some extent? So really, refocus our radars to the implementation, to challenge the practice and the implementation, to say what is happening, and then really target our interventions at that level, in addition to the co-creation and other things. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you all very much. Laura, I hope that answers your question, and I know all the panelists gave great answers to that question there. And we're going to just finish up with 2 more questions from the online participants, and then we'll close the session here, just so the online participants can call it a night wherever they're logging in from, as many of them are staying up late or waking up very early this morning. So our first of the last 2 questions comes from Mama Jang in Ghana, and his question is for Professor Ghazi, and his question states, is it advisable for the younger generation to get involved in fishing at this stage, where fishery sectors across the globe are declining as a result of numerous factors? It is even predicted by scientists across the globe that fisheries will collapse by 2048. Is it a wise decision to get into this sector?
It's a very, very vulnerable question, so to me to answer, because this is what is the trend, recent trend, and we cannot even stop the fisheries sector to be sustainable and viable. We have to work, but the challenge is whether due to technology, due to different generational effect, what is the next? What is the next for us to move? So this is the challenge, and this is a clear trend as far as I know in the South Asian context, especially in Malaysia, Indonesia, and Thailand. The younger generation are not going to fish anymore. They are going to do some less laboring activities, more lucrative activities in terms of income. They don't care about the fisheries or resources or other things. So this is how we educate our generation. This is the challenge, to understand about the resources, about the sustainability, about the conservation. These are our role to educate our future generation. That's I can tell you for this moment, but we don't know what is the trend in the next. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Ghazi, for your response to that very difficult question. I know Abalansa from the University of Waterloo, Canada, has a question, but he would like to say it virtually, so he'd like to speak it himself. So Abalansa, feel free to go ahead.
Okay, my question goes to Professor Ghazi. You mentioned pollution as one of the environmental changes occurring. I want to know if plastic pollution is one of these changes. And if yes, how is plastic pollution contributing to vulnerability of small-scale fisheries? And what is the way forward, moving to viability?
Yes, it's a very also very important questions, and it is happening very seriously in the islands, in the islands, especially who are like living in the very offshore kind of arrangements. They don't have anything to do except fishing, right? So they are fully dependent on fishing for their life. So these are the challenging now because of the development agenda by the government to develop their tourism sector to improve the economic growth, local economic growth. So this is now what is happening here in the island, that resources are polluted, including plastic pollutions and the pollutions coming from the tourism settlement, like the divings and all these other activities. So these and the responsible agencies are not very efficient to be able to reduce the problem, because the users are all local people, fishers or outside fishers, they are using the resources. But the pressures coming from the community, even the local community, as well as the other communities from different periphery or different surrounding areas. So the challenge is how to reduce the pollutions for the environmental sustainability. And again, there is a problem for the access to the resources and different conditions or rules for the resources for using. So and the policy for conservation. So there is very complex situation in the resources sustainability. If you look at this context, very specific areas where the MPS is located. Marine protected areas all are in the surrounding area of the MPS islands, and these areas are going to be more and more polluted in the future. And the pollutions coming from the settlement of mainly the tourism development.
Awesome. Thank you very much for your response. Abalanza, did that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, please touch, yeah.
Abalansa, I know the question was not for me, but I just want to add a quick thought to what Gaji was saying. I think there is a need to consider plastics and plastic-related pollution in the marine waters and coastal waters as part of blue economy and blue growth discussions, because I think plastic in many ways is becoming a natural corollary to blue economy growth, because more growth we see in the blue sector with tourism, not only tourism, but other kinds of, all the 17 sectors within blue economy, the chances of increasing plastic pollution becomes a reality. Okay, so I think there is a need to connect those dots between blue growth and blue economy and increasing plastic presence in the coastal and marine environments. Maybe something that you could look at through your research that you are doing on plastics. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you very much. And just one very last quick question from Navia from the University of Waterloo, Canada as well. Just she wanted to touch on, this is for Professor Inda. How do Indonesia's extensive mangrove forests and seagrass meadows contribute to the resilience and the viability of small-scale fisheries? And what measures are being taken to protect these blue carbon ecosystems?
All right, thank you, Navia. So it's a very wonderful question. And I think I can answer well. It's a limited answer, but if you like to see how is the real answer, so please come to Indonesia. We will take you around and we can explore the mangrove. Mangrove in Indonesia, we have two use. One is for production. Really, mangrove is for energy. And the other use of mangrove is to protect, because this is for nursery ground, and also to protect for the wave stream from the sea. So that the use of mangrove. So mangrove is really help the viability of resources, especially in the coastal area. And if you come to here, I will bring to Professor Munasik. Professor Munasik also keen on in research for the not only mangrove, but also until the coral ecosystem in the bottom of sea. So and then also in connection to the mangrove as well. So it's really very useful for the mangrove. But here, as you know, that grassroots people, sometimes they may not know what is the use of mangrove to protect the coastal one. So they encroach the mangrove forest, cut the mangrove for cooking their household. So that's for Navia. Limited time, limited answer, but please come to Indonesia. You have unlimited answer. So I saw here also, why Murai, you skip a question for you. So you have to answer.
We don't have time, it's okay, no problem.
So please do answer also. This is unfair if you be given a question you not answer. But Murai, after this you have to answer. But before that, so please, I highly appreciate for colleagues, friends, and students who already involved in this meeting. I saw appreciation in a chat box and refer to Professor Prati, Professor Gasi as well, the use of V2V and very insightful and so on, including Laura Wilson also wrote that a wonderful comment, Navia and the other Alexander, and in above I missed because only that Murai, you may resume later on as a moderator, that's your job. So thank you very much.
Okay, I can quickly just answer the question that was posed to me. It was just asking how did my first impressions on doing research within Indonesia and what were my first thoughts on that. So doing my research in Indonesia, I've now completed it, so it's been very insightful, very impactful for myself to do. And I've never seen fisheries sort of like this. I'm coming from Canada, so everything I've seen here or done here is very different from things I've experienced in my past life or things I've experienced in Canada. And coming here, it's been very interesting to see the interconnectedness of these fishing communities, the diversity of these fishing communities, as well as the various approaches and techniques that these communities are utilizing to overcome strategies and try and become viable in their own ways. And through that, I was able to sort of understand and help build my knowledge on fisheries and vulnerability to viability as a whole. So it's been very welcoming and it's been a very great experience, to say the least. And with that, I'd like to thank everybody for their fantastic contributions to the Undip, Unirazak, and the V2V Global Partnership Summer Course, especially our great panelists, Professor Prateep Nayak, Professor Ghazi, and Professor Inda. And it was great to have everybody's valuable contributions as well as your 3 insights on the topic of vulnerability to viability. Do any of you have any closing remarks or anything to say?
Again, I have to take orders from India all the time. So, the order was that I come stand up here and give some closing remarks. I'm filled with gratitude, because the dream of working with people like you is something that I cherish in my heart. And that's why I can proudly say that this is our 5th field school that we are doing here, and there is one in the Bay of Bengal, 2 in the Bay of Bengal actually, one in India. We meet there every August. One in India and Bangladesh in the mangroves, in the Sundarbans. That is every January. And then this is something that is focused on the marine protected areas and fisheries. And this is going to rotate between Indonesia and Malaysia. So this year we're starting it in Indonesia. Next year we're already planning to go to Malaysia to do this and then come back to Indonesia the other year. And tentatively we are going to the Terengganu area in Peninsular Malaysia next year and in March. And then there is one in South Africa that colleagues have started. So this tradition of engaging in this experiential learning process is very enriching, not for the people who participate in it, but also for people like us who are on the other side of the fence, organizing it itself. But this is a very special school or summer course because it is bringing together people in a room like you all, but also a lot of people that have been part of our previous field schools. So this is a real great confluence of, generations of scholars, practitioners, and policy people to come together virtually and in person to make this really possible. So my gratitude and my thanks to all of you for making this possible. And this inspires us to continue this rich tradition of place-based, cross-cultural, experiential learning in multiple innovative ways into the future. Okay, so I look forward to the next 4 or 5, 6 days to work with all of you. But huge thank yous to the virtual participants, many familiar faces and people on the screen. So huge thank yous to you for joining and making this much more meaningful for everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Professor Indah, do you want to say any closing remarks as the host?
I'm not saying closing remark, but Professor Niku, thank you for your a unique impression for our uniform of V2V. So I like.
Say something about the V2V.
Yeah, V2V uniform. So later when we meet and then we can have a uniform. So I like everybody stand up, and then I will say V2V, and then everybody will say yes, yes. Yeah. I say V2V, and then you say yes, yes. The TV Undip, highly appreciation for the TV Undip as well as for the Zoom IT. And then could you make it shoot because we want to have a good word. V2V, yes, yes, yeah. Okay, say V2V, yes, yes, yes. Goodbye. Thank you very much for your participation for everyone. Friends, yeah, okay. Thank you. Murai. Just close.
Yeah, officially, yeah.
All right, everybody, thank you very much. For anybody online, the session is officially over, so thank you very much for tuning in and joining from wherever you've logged in from across the world, and we very much appreciate it. And from myself, Undip, Unirazak, and the V2V Global Partnership, thank you very much, and thank you everyone as well in person. Thank you.
Okay,
thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you so much for everybody here.
So
yeah.
next?